what's up? This is the DeadEnRoad Show. This is episode 29. Coming to you with, we got a whole bunch of stuff planned. Some of the stuff I had planned for last week, and I pushed it.
We have Dune.
Yeah, we got Dune. We got Dune content. We got lots of Dune content. Yeah, we're going to try some new things. We'll see how it goes. Last week I said we were going to get weird, and then this week I put like all the actual weird shit in this one because I pushed some stuff. So yeah, we're going to see how that goes. So yeah, let's just dive into it.
Great.
So we have a new segment. I haven't come up with a name for it yet, and it's been a few weeks, and nothing's come to me yet. So for the working title is "What Weird Shit Does Bill Believe?" And so this is going to be the part of the show where we take a look at some weird thing that I'm interested in, whether it's my predilection for Jungian psychology or me thinking that the TikTok numbers are fake, or you know, whatever kind of weird thing that I believe in. And so I figured I would get us started with I'd get real personal here.
Okay.
And see, I don't know if you know this about me. I think I might have mentioned it on a previous episode of the show or in passing or something. I have a phobia of mirrors.
You know, oh God, how long have I known you now? How many years has it been?
It's been what, since like third grade?
Might even be second.
Right.
So like probably like close to 20 years.
Yeah.
Not quite 20 years, almost though.
Almost. Jesus
I did
Christ.
not I did not know this.
Yeah. So yeah, they freak me out. And it's really easy to make jokes because it's like, oh yeah, you don't want to look at yourself, you know, blah 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 blah. And that's not really the reason. They freak me out because I would see things in mirrors, and so that would like really freak me the fuck out.
Things that were there or weren't there?
Things that were in the mirror.
Okay.
So yeah, I have at the same time like a fear of mirrors and also a fascination with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I figured this would tie in because I needed to do some research for another thing that I'm working on. And so I figured we can go through some stuff here for this new segment. So,
you know,
yeah.
Before you get started, I'm thinking back now. We saw Jordan Peele's Us in the theater when that came out.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get through like the first 10 minutes of that movie?
Yeah, so like it's not like this, you know, super you know, like where I can't be around mirrors or whatever, you know, because like I have a mirror in my room, you know, it's just they unsettle me and I don't like looking in them. So I try not to. I think it ties into my anxiety where like if my anxiety is really high, I will definitely try not to look at them. And if I get into my head where like I'm very conscious of the fact that it's like, oh, that is a mirror right now, then I would get like particularly weird about it. And I start overthinking it, and then like I definitely can't look into it. Like yeah, like when I lived with my grandma, there was a really wide mirror that was supposed to go on top of this dresser. And so instead, since I moved stuff around, it was off of the dresser and onto the floor, because otherwise it would have faced directly like where my bed was. And so I moved it onto the floor and then like covered it with stuff so like it wouldn't directly face me.
Wow.
Yeah. I also had to move a gigantic ceramic crucifix, but that was for different reasons. So yeah, it's not like, you know, it's like when I brush my teeth, like I'll look in the mirror, but it's not, you know, like it's not a this overwhelming thing.
Well, nobody's gonna accuse you of being vain, so there's that.
Yeah, sure, I got that going for me. So yeah, fear of mirrors is called spectrophobia. And this comes from the Latin for apparition. It's also known as catoptrophobia, which is from the Greek for mirror. It's often linked to the fear of ghosts and seeing things in the mirrors. Some fear that mirrors are a gateway to another place and they're afraid of being pulled in. Others fear that their own image is distorted in the dark and they're afraid of seeing things in the mirrors. So in my case, this happened a lot more frequently when I was younger. I would see all kinds of weird shit in mirrors, especially the mirror in my bedroom, because there was a time where my bed was placed differently, and so my head would sort of face the mirror, and the mirror would also, I could also see out my door in the reflection of the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I was Catholic, let's let's phrase it that way, I thought I saw Jesus in the mirror, walking up the stairs, and then he turned to me in the mirror and sort of made this like beckoning motion, and then he just sort of continued up the stairs and disappeared. Then another time I saw some sort of figure that was like all in white that almost looked like somebody that was in the KKK, just like this completely white hooded figure. And it did like something similar where it was going up the stairs and then it turned like over the shoulder to look at me. And then it continued and left. And then I would also see other weird things like pieces of paper burning in mirrors, just like kind of floating there in the mirror. And then
sorry to interrupt, but like,
mm-hmm.
how often, like, not how often, but how long do these like visions last? Like the paper, for example, like, is it just like until you blink, or do you have time to like sit there and process what you're seeing while you're seeing it?
The paper was probably about, I don't know, 20 seconds.
Oh, that's a long time.
Yeah. The weird one with the paper was that the next morning I could have sworn that there was some ash on my carpet.
Oh boy.
Mm-hmm.
We're recording on Halloween weekend, by the way.
Yeah. That's why I wanted to squeeze this in last episode, but yeah, I had to push it. So yeah. I've seen some weird shit in mirrors.
Man.
Yeah.
So can you look away and then look back and it's still there? Like, cause you know how in horror movies, the person looks away and then when they look back at the mirror or whatever it is, then the thing has disappeared?
Usually not.
Uh-huh.
It usually does go away.
Mm-hmm.
It has been a while since I've seen something.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I think that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. I would see a lot of shit at my grandma's house too.
Uh-huh.
Because she also had a lot of mirrors. She had these two squared off like framed mirrors that were as if they were paintings, but they were just mirrors on both ends of the living room, looking towards two like staircases. Because it's like a sunken in living room.
Mm-hmm.
So it would just be looking out into, one would look into the dining room and then one would be looking into like the foyer area. And so you could get weird angles with those because she also had like a lot of crystal and shit. And the bathroom mirrors were also very weird because there was frosted glass on the window of the bathroom.
This is like a nightmare scenario.
Yeah.
To live in.
Yeah, so there would be a lot of weird angles and things. Yeah, like I would have, well, we don't this is for another one of these segments, but like I would have dreams of like dead relatives and things, and sometimes they would like involve the mirrors in some way. Yeah. Yeah, just weird stuff would happen.
So like what? So like you're seeing them in the dream, but you're only seeing them through the mirror in the dream?
Yeah. Yeah. But then in like reality, I would see just like shapes, like humanoid shapes, like over my shoulder in the mirrors, things like that.
Things like that.
Yeah. We'll have to do another one of these segments about my dreams, because those are, I've had dreams that come true like frequently with bizarre precision.
Okay. Yeah, I do think that does have to be another segment.
Yeah. It won't be like oh, I have to tell you about this dream I had one night. It would be hopefully interesting. But so Mesoamerican cultures, like the Aztecs, would use mirrors for divination. They believe that reflective surfaces could be used to see the past, present, and future, and they could also be used to mimic water, which they also used for divining. And their gods were depicted with mirrors for eyes, and they used a corollary between mirrors and eyes frequently in their art. And this type of divination is known as captromancy or caliptromancy, and it was also practiced in ancient Greece and Rome. The superstition of bad luck from breaking a mirror comes from the belief that mirrors hold fragments of a person's soul, and that shattering a mirror means that a piece is irretrievably lost.
Have you ever broken a mirror?
I have not. No, I haven't.
You don't get close enough to them.
No, and I don't like associate with like handheld mirrors or anything like that would possibly break. There's also a belief that mirrors throughout a house should be covered or removed after a death to prevent the deceased soul from being taken or stolen. And there's a Jewish belief that evil spirits attach themselves to the grieving through mirrors. And there's also a superstition that looking in a mirror in the same room as someone that recently died means that that person will soon die.
Oh.
Yeah, and there's also like all kinds of sort of like demonic rituals with mirrors, like demon summoning rites and things like that.
Of course.
Like more than, like Bloody Mary and things like that. But those are sort of like just derived from like old demon summoning things. And there's also all kinds of other superstitions.
Do we know of any good mirror-based horror films?
I remember there was that one in like the 2010s, like Oculus or whatever. It wasn't very good.
No.
I'm trying to think.
Because see, if I had known about this, I would have found something for horror artists.
Right.
But yeah,
I don't know what, Candyman.
Oh, I've been meaning to see that new one.
Yeah, I heard it wasn't very good.
That's I've been kind of putting it off because of that.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I'm afraid of? Certain mirrors in like public restrooms. Because when the lighting, the harsh lighting in certain public restrooms, I will avoid those mirrors because they are not
flattering.
They're not flattering.
Yeah,
that's that's the extent that I can relate to this.
The other thing that you should be afraid of with public mirrors is that they might be two-way.
Oh,
there's the thing you can do. You're supposed to like press your finger to it. And it's either if there's a gap or if there's not a gap, it's a two-way. I forget which one it is.
Like a gap, meaning like
a gap between your finger and your finger's reflection in the mirror.
Oh, okay.
I forget which one is which, but like that's the way that you're supposed to be able to tell if the mirror is a two-way mirror and if the establishment is being weird perverts with their mirrors.
Interesting. That's good to know. Have you ever checked?
I think I did. I think I had a phase where I would check.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know who would be looking in the men's room. But yeah. So yeah, I think that was most of it. They freaked me out. I've seen some shit
with good reason. I was not expecting some of that stuff there.
Yeah. Yeah, it sort of ties into a lot of my I don't know, occulty beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, you could analyze the shit out of all this.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So I guess we'll be diving into more of my weird business in future installments of this segment.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, need a name. Gotta come up with a name for it, but we'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to get into our internet deep dive for this week?
Sure.
All right. So
yeah, I took a look at this and I knew immediately that this was only you. We're gonna pull this out. This is just wild stuff.
Yeah. So I don't know if you had already seen about this dude. Actor Jim Caviezel has gone full QAnon.
Jesus himself.
Yeah, he played Jesus in Passion of the Christ from everybody's favorite Mel Gibson, famously cuddly Mel Gibson. So yeah, he's gone full QAnon. People were talking about that, but
is it possible that you saw this guy in the mirror years ago?
Maybe maybe that was the Jesus I saw.
It could have been, but it's a good thing you didn't follow him.
Yeah,
it's a good thing you didn't go down that route.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, he went to this Patriot Double Down convention, which sounds like a fucking KFC meal, in Vegas, and he gave a speech where he he reenacted part of the speech from Braveheart because he's all in on the Gibson shit, I guess.
Oh yeah, the Gibson verse.
And he wants to send Lucifer and his henchmen straight back to hell. So that's all standard QAnon shit. But the interesting thing is that he is friends with this QAnon guru guy, whose moniker, his alias, is 107, which is apparently it's just supposed to be the numbers 107, and I don't know what that refers to. So it's 107.
Clever.
Yeah, but I don't know what that I haven't heard of that number being of any significance to the QAnon community, but I don't know.
Maybe it's just his lucky number. Although I don't know if I've ever heard anybody have a lucky number in the triple digits.
Right. So he is important in the QAnon spaces because he is one of 50 people that they believe to be John F. Kennedy Jr. in disguise. There have been a number of these people that they believe are JFK Jr. And this dude was also chummy with Roseanne Barr, who famously got fired from her own show for spreading QAnon shit.
Mm-hmm. And
so this dude builds himself up at these live streams and QAnon conventions and other shit. Although this one guy called himself a fringe influencer even within the QAnon community, but at the same time he's trying to worm his way into politics here, and trying to control elections through appointing secretaries of state all around the country.
Right.
So it's some scary shit. But it's all dressed up in the most ridiculous, kind of thing, because they're Jim Caviezel and this fucking dude are going around the country looking for funding to release their QAnon movie. But in back rooms, this dude who is letting people think that he's JFK Jr. Is trying to get GOP lawmakers to appoint specific people in order to control elections.
Yeah, see, it can't just be these stupid people that we can make fun of. Unfortunately, it has to have real world implications that are quite scary.
Yeah. So this is from the Daily Beast. Savin's coalition held a meeting with MAGA luminaries like MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell, who is famously a crackhead and out of his goddamn mind. Former Overstock CEO Patrick Byrne and the Gateway pundit blogger Jim Hoft to plot out the Secretary of State bids. In his speech, Marchant made it clear the goal of Savin's push for new candidates, controlling elections in 2024. And here's a quote. "I can't stress how important the Secretary of State offices are. I think they are the most important election in our country in 2022. And why is that? We control the election system." But then at the same time, they're talking about how they're going to put top members of the deep state in Guantanamo Bay military tribunals. It's just ridiculous shit.
It's exhausting, honestly.
It really is. They talk about the adrenochrome and it's like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But then they're doing these backroom deals. The only problem is that these fuckos have cash.
Right.
And like that's the only part that matters is that they have cash. So that means they can actually do shit. So, but yeah, I just think it's funny how QAnon keeps believing that like every other month they think a new one of these guys is JFK Jr. And that he's going to reveal himself and through some mystical sword in the stone thing, JFK Jr. is going to reveal that he's actually the president of the United States and has been for 60 years or some shit. Mm-hmm. And that the current United States is actually an illegitimate corporation. All kinds of fucking bonkers shit.
Well, I mean, at least, they increase their odds by having, multiple JFK Juniors out there. They increase their odds of actually landing on the correct one, right? So
yeah. And by the way, the movie that they're promoting is Caviezel's playing the founder of the anti-sex trafficking group Operation Underground Railroad, and I believe they are a group that would basically attempt to kidnap kids that they believed were being abused without any sort of real proof. They're just like a vigilante group.
Right.
And so they, in turn, would be kidnapping kids.
Yeah. Has this movie, where in the production, or has this been made yet? Or are they still looking for funding? I believe the movie has been made. And it says, we're driving across the country, Jim Caviezel and I, Blues Brothers, trying to get funding sorted out for the marketing. No. They're doing this. They're trying to get funding sorted out for the marketing side of the movie. I got excited there. I love road trip movies.
I mean, it might be because it's like they call themselves Operation Underground Railroad, where they kidnap the kids and then try to, smuggle them somewhere in different states, which is federal shit. But yeah, I think the movie's been made, but they haven't. That's
interesting. I mean, hopefully it comes out by the Oscar deadline. So it can get be eligible for nominations.
Dennis Rice, whose company owns the American distribution rights to Sound of Freedom, insists Savin isn't raising money for the movie. There is no formal affiliation with any political group, Ross said. There's no formal affiliation with Wano Savin, but if they want to support Sound of Freedom, I'm all for it. He rejected the idea that Savin is JFK Jr. in disguise. I can absolutely 100% tell you that is not true. Yeah, no shit. Oh, yeah. So that's what's going on with QAnon these days. They're still trucking along. Speaking of conspiracy theories, let's do another new segment here. And I don't have any music or anything for this. I can add some in post, but...
That right there is the mail. Now let's talk about the mail. Can we talk about the mail, please, Mac? I'm dying to talk about the mail with you all day, okay?
I've been wanting to bring back It Doesn't Add Up in many shapes and forms, especially because that show still somehow gets more traffic than this show. With no promotion, and there hasn't been an episode in exactly 3 years.
That true crime community, I'll tell you.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, so in the month of October, our best episode got a third of the listenership of one of the old episodes of It Doesn't Add Up. With no promotion on that old show, me not talking about it, not linking to it anywhere. It's just out there. And I bet I haven't even put it in all the places that I've put this show because I haven't like updated the RSS feeds and everything. It's just, I don't know. People are fine listening to it. Whatever. That's not even like the YouTube. I don't even know what the YouTube numbers are. Yeah. Anyway, so I've wanted to bring it back for a very long time. Tori is very busy, so she can't do a full show anymore at this time. So I'm going to do some It Doesn't Add Up minis. And what this incarnation is going to look like right now is I'm going to find some little conspiracy theories, and I'm going to tell you about them. And they're going to be some little quick hits like that. And I think it's going to, for right now, it's going to read similar to Dating is Dead, just because of the quick nature of them. So we'll just read them out, and we'll have some reactions to them.
Now,
we can go from there.
What does hit clips have to do with this?
Oh, I put that in the notes. I might have been feverish when I wrote that.
Okay.
But do you remember hit clips?
Is that the thing where you would have like the music player and it would be like a little like cassette tape type thing, and you put it in, it plays like one song?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, from the
man,
90s.
I used to love that.
Yeah.
I used to love that.
The sound quality was fucking dog shit, and it was like one
Awful.
song. And I don't even know if it would play the whole song. It might have just
I don't
been
think
like
it was
chorus.
the full song. It was a clip of a hit, you might say.
What is stupid. And you had to carry them around. They were like keychains.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh man, Tamagotchi era shit.
Yeah. Something that you could only sell prior to like the internet really being a thing.
Yeah. So this is going to be the hit clips of conspiracy theories. So yeah, let's get into this. I don't know what order these are in, so okay. All right. This is going to be a good one. Think about this for a second. Steve from Blue's Clues left right after 9/11 and appeared right after we pulled out of Afghanistan. Blue's Clues was a method for the CIA to send coded messages to Black Ops teams executing domestic false flag operations up to and including 9/11. Steve was a team leader that ended up operating in Afghanistan for the last 20 years. It's plain as day.
Terrific.
I mean, the timeline.
Oh, yeah.
The timeline's there.
Yep. Two things that happen in the world around the same time must be connected.
The thing with conspiracy people is that they do not subscribe to correlation does not equal causation.
Of course
they are. Yeah.
Everything would fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
But man, like, as an aside, though, people were in tears over that Blue's Clues video from a couple months ago.
I know. I was like, okay.
Like, I watched it a lot as a small child.
Yeah, me too.
And I sat down and watched that video, and I felt nothing.
I know. Yeah, I was like, all right. Did you people really not have parents or something, or like I didn't like. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
But that is a great one.
Yeah.
Just operating behind the scenes
Mm-hmm.
for all these years.
Yeah, Blue's Clues was a method for the CIA to send coded messages to Black Ops teams. I just love the idea of Black Ops teams turning on Nick Jr. At 10 a.m.
So the guy that replaced Steve, because the show went on after he left.
Yeah.
He didn't know about this.
No,
right?
he had no idea. No, he was just a guy.
Okay.
He was just a guy. No, because Steve was the team leader. So he went to Afghanistan. He said that he was going to college or whatever for the show. But that was just liberal brainwashing. And
of course.
This is when he was really going to Afghanistan. You know how Steve was dripped as shit. Okay. All right. The aliens aren't coming. They've never left. We live in the Matrix, and it has a language. It's called gematria, and whether you know it or not, this, what I believe to be ancient alien language, in more recent times, ancient Judeo-Masonic Babylonian practice that is still in use today to encode events which to us seemingly look random. There is no random in the Matrix. Everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for with a purpose. Take, for example, the recent death of the ex-drummer from Slipknot, the band with the song titled Gematria, The Killing Game, and the Heretic Anthem, where you find the lyric, if you're 555, then I'm 666. Joey Jordison would die at exactly 555 months old. Who or what do you think 666 is? Maybe it's not what we have been taught it is. The aliens aren't coming. They're already here and have never left.
So, okay, so 666.
Uh-huh.
So that date would be 666 months after the birth of Joey Jordison. That's the significant date.
Or I guess it'd be 111 months.
After his death.
After his death, yeah.
Okay, yeah, same thing.
So that's what, like 10-ish years?
Okay. So Joey Jordison is at the center of this because of one of his song titles?
Yeah, one of his songs has the lyric, if you're 555, then I'm 666.
Ah, okay.
But meanwhile, he was 555 because he died then. But that's the reverse of the lyric.
Do we even know if he wrote those lyrics? I mean, you know.
Well, now I got to look up Slipknot discography and look at the writing credits.
You don't have to.
I just love the turn from, there's this ancient Judeo-Masonic Babylonian practice that's coded, and the universe is actually the Matrix. And then take, for example, the recent death of the ex-drummer from Slipknot.
Yeah.
That's going to prove it. That's going to prove that there's an alien Judeo-Masonic Babylonian code. Oh, my God.
I think it's wild that they counted the months to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they could be bullshitting that. I don't think anybody's going to check the math.
No.
Yeah.
No. I mean, who knows? That could end up on a dead wrong next week.
Right. But like, it's just funny because the lyric is explicitly, if you're 555, then I'm 666. But then Joey Jordison is 555, and then something else is 666. So it's actually reversed.
Well, what if the vocalist of Slipknot wrote these lyrics, right? Because he sings them.
Oh, okay.
And so he's saying you, as in Joey Jordison, are 555, then so maybe the Slipknot singer is 666, and he's a significant figure here.
I see.
What's his name? Corey Taylor, right?
Right. Yeah. That's the guy.
He's the key.
Yeah. I still don't know what this has to do with aliens.
No, I have no clue.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's no random in the Matrix.
Coming to theaters in December.
Okay. Google, President of the United States. I have heard by some, if you Google President of the United States, some picture of some bald guy pops up with some name. At first, I thought it was a hoax. Then saw some videos of Trump with what looks like SS agents, a Secret Service, not SS, that is always near him with a bald head in some clips. I never thought anything of these things till last night when I woke up from a dead sleep, that these are related. I woke up out of a dead sleep knowing these two pieces are related, they connect. I don't want to sound crazy, but wow, it took me over an hour to get back to sleep after that. And now I'm wondering, when they say a shadow government, what is really going on? This just won't leave my head, just keeps rolling around like a bowling ball. Just throwing this out there while my brain is still gnawing on it like a dog gnaws on a bone. I'm not expecting anyone to reply, but if you do, what do you think? I hope I am wrong.
I like this one because I think when I'm trying to go to sleep, I think of a lot of stupid shit, right? Like I waste time thinking about nonsense, but this has me beat. So I'm happy about that. Just like worthless stuff to fill your head with.
He Googled President of the United States, and there's a picture of Trump with a secret security guy with a bald head.
Mm-hmm.
And so then he's like, shadow government. That's the guy. That's him.
Just hiding in plain sight.
That would be him. It's really funny when they say shadow government. What is really going on? It's like, yeah, that's him. Google got him. Google Photos found him.
Reverse image search that thing.
Yeah. And then I just love the similes he throws in. Just won't leave my head. Just keeps rolling around like a bowling ball. And then just throwing this out there when my brain is still gnawing on it like a dog gnaws on a bone.
It's poetic.
Oh my god. Okay. I think we got one more. It's all rigged. It's all scripted. If we've seen anything of the past pandemic, because they happen all the time, right? It's that the system is rigged. Everything is rigged and scripted, and it's done by code, by the numbers. What you'll see in this video from the Bible to George Floyd, our realities are rigged, and they are using a code to do it. And it's been given to us by the mastermind behind it all, Francis Bacon. Now, wasn't Francis Bacon like the explorer guy?
I don't know. I think we might have to play 6 Degrees of Francis Bacon to find out.
Sir Francis Bacon, English philosopher and statesman who served as the Attorney General and the Lord Chancellor of England. His works are seen as developing the scientific method and remain influential throughout the scientific revolution. Okay.
Wait, I thought these people don't believe in science.
They believe in their own version of science.
Okay.
Okay. And so then somebody did reply, and I got the reply. How was George Floyd rigged? How was the pandemic rigged? Okay. Hi, friend. Thanks for the questions. George Floyd died 201 weeks or months, not sure which one, after the death of Adam Attore, a French black man killed by the same way George Floyd would be. Event 201, look it up, put on by the Johns Hopkins Hospital and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Ask yourself the same question that millions of people are asking themselves. Why the F are there steps being taken to pay restitution pay to droves of people in the name of slavery to groups of people who are never slaves or making people who never owned slaves pay for it? There's another Civil War / American Revolution coming. That's the real event 201 that they aren't telling us, but we can all see that is coming. They want blood, our blood, and they want us to be the ones to draw it ourselves, just like it always has been, and they're living happily in their high rises. And then somebody else replied, lay off the drugs.
Yeah, pretty much.
You guessed it. Francis Bacon. What the fuck? Yeah, for whatever reason, like another target of theirs is Bill Gates. They think that he's doing all kinds of kooky experiments.
Was he not one of the accused, like, QAnon guys, or? Oh,
yeah. They think that he's putting microchips in the vaccines, and that he eats babies, and that he is, like, running experiments on African people, and
See, why can't they bring this level of energy
to anything?
To anything productive, but just like to like stopping other like evil billionaires, you know?
Yeah, no, yeah, they don't give a shit. Because these are the same people that think Elon Musk is like gonna save us by going to Mars,
right?
You know, and I'm not saying Bill Gates is actually, you know, a good guy because he's a fucking billionaire,
right?
But he's actually not eating babies. Like, he was friends with Epstein, and that's some suspicious ass shit, man. But nobody's eating babies, and there are literally not microchips small enough to be put into liquid, and also they would not be able to work if they were in liquid, right. So they cannot go into vaccines. It just does not work.
Yeah, I don't think you need to explain any of this
to this audience. No, I don't. But it doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. You know, Mythbusters kicked in.
Sure.
But yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
and I just love that this dude is like convinced that the fucking it couldn't be as simple as police brutality targeting black people. George Floyd died 201 weeks or months, who gives a shit, after the death of some French black guy. That's the real, causality here. It's not, systemic racism. It's some bizarro numerology that he doesn't even have correct. Because it might be weeks or months, which are drastically different numbers, actually. And now Johns Hopkins University is evil. And he doesn't even have that right. He has John Hopkins, which is not it either. And the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. It's like, okay, yeah, they killed George Floyd, sure. Not some fucking racist cop. Okay. And then, and then he's going off on a tear about, reparations. All right, man.
Oh, yeah, complete lack of understanding of why reparations are a good thing. And, the idea that, like, slavery ended and the consequences of that ended with it. Like, there's just a line drawn. Yeah. It's like, oh, slavery's over. That doesn't matter anymore. No lasting effects there.
While bringing up George Floyd.
So it's just ridiculous.
There are dots here and they're connected, but they're connected so wrong. Like, it's... Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, you conveniently ignore the dots that you don't want to connect. Yeah. But
while still recognizing they exist. It's sure. Yeah, it's so warped.
What were these comments? Was this like YouTube comments or something?
These were Reddit. Reddit comments. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was our It Doesn't Add Up minis for this week.
Terrific stuff.
Yeah, I will have to go find some more. And if you see any weird conspiracy theories, send them in, video@deadendroad.co, and we will discuss.
Is it time for Dune?
It is time for Dune.
Yes.
So, Dune is a thing. I see that you've amended notes here. I just got that. Apparently, Dune is a wonderful thing. I might have something to say about that. But for some reason, during Dune week, there was a lot of Dune Yinzer content. You probably didn't see all this.
No, I'm not too engaged with the Pittsburgh community on the internet.
Yeah, well, sometimes I feel like I'm not, and then I'll read a tweet, and then I'll realize that, oh, this is some Pittsburgh shit, and it just kind of hits me.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, there was this tweet that says, "Gonna see Dune, but not because you all are obsessed with it, but on the reco of my friend who spent money he didn't have on a huge Dune mural in the garbage area behind his pizzeria, inaccessible to customers because he, quote, needed it to center himself alone before big pizza rushes." And so then, he's got a big sandworm, and there, I assume, is Paul Atreides.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this big ass mural.
He's psyching himself up for the dinner rush.
And I'm going through this feed or this thread, and then it's like he'd gotten pushed out of multiple successful pizzerias in Pittsburgh by partners and was determined to do it alone. Everyone was like, quote, "The first thing you spend this loan on is a Dune mural," and he was like, "I need this." And so this is a pizzeria in Oakland, one of the neighborhoods in Pittsburgh. It's Pizza Pronto.
Is he viewing himself as Paul Atreides? Like he was cast out from the family and now he's doing it alone?
Maybe. That could be. But it's quite a piece of work. And it is it's behind the establishment. You cannot see it like street view or anything. It's behind the place. It's really something. So if you're in the Pittsburgh area, we probably have some Pittsburgh listeners because of what goes on. And then there was this other tweet by this gentleman.
He's not Duke Leader Atreides. He's the one that owns Dukes.
So just Leto Atreides in a Yinzer accent. Like terrific. I played this like 50 fucking times in a row.
Yeah, can we hear it again?
He's not Duke Leader Atreides. He's the one that owns Dukes.
Oh. He's the one that owns the Dukes.
Wonderful.
So there was some yinzer content happening all over the place.
This movie's really taken off.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyway.
do we want to get into the actual movie?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, so you're very high on this.
Very high, yeah.
Yeah, you might be on a spice high, one might say.
Mm-hmm. Good one.
Yeah, I was kind of lukewarm on it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Something was off for me. And I have not read the original, the novel. Right. Like, 'cause it seems like, there's two types of people. There are people that have read Dune, and there are people that have like attempted to read Dune.
Yes.
I'm the latter.
I hear the first 100 pages is tough, but once you get past that.
Yeah. I saw it's only like 400 pages. I thought it was much longer than that. But
I guess it depends on the size of the prints in whatever edition you have.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know if this was a fault of the adaptation or what, but like I had always heard that like, Dune, it's nuts. It's it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And like this wasn't.
I mean,
it was kind of straightforward.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was expecting. Because Dune is sort of considered to be like this foundational story in like science fiction and fantasy that inspired a lot of like mainstream genre films over the past number of decades, like Star Wars, etc. So I kind of went into it expecting this sort of straightforward, like hero's journey, Messiah type story. Yeah.
Yeah, I would always heard that like it was crazy. So like, strap
crazy,
in. Yeah, it's gonna get weird. And then for it to not be, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I could see how that's a bit disappointing.
Yeah.
Was there anything you liked about it?
Chalamet was good.
Yeah, he's terrific.
And I thought the mom was good.
Rebecca Ferguson.
Yeah, it's just I guess this is just his style now, Villenueve, like where like this is the color palette, and he sort of set the tone for what sci-fi is like in the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I might be fatigued by it already.
Really?
Yeah. Where everything is now just gray. Because like last year there was Raised by Wolves, which kind of looked exactly like this.
Ooh, I hard disagree there.
Really?
Yeah, no, I thought this film was doing a lot of really amazing things.
I mean, that just had more spandex. But other than that, it was like same colors,
Okay.
And then it's like, all right, how many sci-fi movies does Oscar Isaac need to be in? And he could that role could have been played by anybody. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So it sounds like you're a bit fatigued for sure.
Yeah,
which
but
like I kind of,
but like we don't get a lot of these movies. No,
I was gonna, speaking of that, I was gonna say like, for somebody who really really enjoyed this, I'm happy that it's performed as well as it has. It's done really well in the box office. Like I think the best of any pandemic film.
Yeah.
Which is especially impressive considering that it was day and date on HBO Max.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, looking at this movie, I kind of felt in a lot of ways it's almost like the anti-MCU blockbuster. If you're talking about like high budget blockbuster movies, big, loud, expensive, this is the ideal version of that for me. You don't get any of like the cheesy one-liners that you get in the MCU that like totally take you out of like the significance of like the moment or what's happening.
Yeah.
the focus in this movie is world building. So much of it is world building. Just like, because there's like a lot of spectacle, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's all in service of like, yeah. So I was saying like, there's a lot of spectacle in this movie,
Mm-hmm.
but it's all so purposeful. Like, for example, and we didn't really set it up, you know,
Right.
but so like you have the shot where Timothée Chalamet's character, Paul, is like standing on this hill near the water, and he's watching, like, the camera's behind him, and you're watching this giant ship rise from the water, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then like later on, there's this really important sequence about halfway through the movie where there's like an invasion in the nighttime, and there are ships coming down from the sky, and explosions and all that. But it's like, I don't know, there's a way, something about how Villeneuve frames these scenes, like his use of scale in this movie is just jaw-dropping. Like, it's incredible. I honestly, I don't know if I've ever seen scale like this in a movie. Like, it's incredible, like the perspectives that you get. Because for the most part, you're following Paul, right? Like, it's from his perspective. Mm-hmm. And a lot of this stuff he's seeing for the first time, because it's just, you know, he's going to this planet for the first time, and you're kind of seeing it through his eyes. And I don't know, it's just like the visuals were truly like incredible. Some things I've never seen in film before. Like, it's Villeneuve's style for sure. It's something he's been sort of building and working with like his entire career, but this is like a culmination of that. It's on a scale that he just has not been able to do before. And it was really, it blew me away.
Yeah. You know what? The visual didn't blow me away.
What's that?
Was the shaven Jason Momoa.
Okay.
He looks so weird without a beard.
Oh, because you've only seen him in Aquaman?
No, I've only seen him with a beard and everything.
Is that really?
Yeah.
Does he typically always have one? I thought that was maybe just like an Aquaman thing.
No, he always has one.
Okay.
He looked weird. He looked off. He was just some dude.
Okay.
What the fuck was his name? Mason Dixon?
Duncan.
Yeah.
Duncan.
Kansas?
Yeah, no, I enjoyed for what that character was. Like, he's just having a good time in this world where everybody is not. You know, he's just running around having a blast.
Yeah,
he's infiltrating the Fremen. He's going around the ship. He's trying to take on like armies.
Yeah, he pulls out these gadgets and he's like, everybody's like, "What do these do?" And he's like, "I'm not telling you."
Yeah, it's like a thumper. I love this thumper. You guys see this thing? It's a thumper. It's so cool.
What's it do? It doesn't matter.
No, but honestly, that actually kind of brings up a point, which was this movie, for it being like an epic, sci-fi fantasy film, it did not get bogged down by any like bullshit that you usually see in science fiction, like stuff that you can kind of like, like yada yada away, right? Like some sort of explanation about what a device does, for example, or like some sort of mythological thing that really nobody cares about. Like, it's weird to say that the movie felt like grounded when you have like these giant like sandworms, and stuff like that. But it did kind of feel grounded in that way. Like, there's so much, there was so much attention to detail with like the worlds and the world building and like the costumes and, all of that. But it never felt like, oh, I'm watching a science fiction movie, and they're like hitting me with this science fiction stuff. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of confused about the voice shit.
Mm-hmm.
And cause like all the like the the previews and like the synopsis says like, oh yeah, it's about a boy and this prophecy or whatever,
Right.
but they never like actually say what the prophecy is,
which is fine, I think.
but it is like, it's like assuming that you know what it is.
Well, I mean, is it though? Because it feels like the characters themselves don't know, right? Because like at every turn, they're questioning whether Paul is this thing.
Yeah, no, but that's
and he's
that's to be
questioning
expected with any kind of chosen boy.
Well, sure, but like at the same time, he's questioning within himself too. Like, if I am, what does this mean? You know, like what do my visions mean?
Well, yeah, but that's because they haven't explained shit to him either.
Mm-hmm.
So from that standpoint, it makes sense if you're the viewer and you don't know what the prophecy is.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do, then like you do have a leg up, like,
right.
Because they go through the minutia of like everything else. Like, this is how this big old dump truck works to refine the sand. You know, this is how the worms work. But then they don't just outright state what the prophecy is at all.
Well, I mean, I guess because the prophecy is only known by a select few number of characters too, right?
I
Like
guess.
this other stuff that you're getting explanations for, that's part of this new world that they're in, and it's kind of like everybody's learning about that at the same time.
But isn't he also like the chosen boy for the Fremen or whatever?
Potentially.
So they got a prophecy or whatever was the impression I was getting.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine
Mighty
that.
Boss Tones.
I would imagine that part 2 would probably delve more into that because we didn't get much Fremen in this movie.
Yeah.
Until the very end, right?
It was losing me at the end.
Really?
I have to say, yeah.
Okay.
Because I was like, we're about to wrap this up, and now we're doing a trial by combat.
Yeah.
It's like, this is not a climax, really.
Well, yeah. So that's interesting. Because a lot of the talk I've seen around this movie, like people that were disappointed. I think part of the issue is the marketing. Nowhere during the promotion of this movie did it say this is part 1 of like a multi-part film, right?
Well, because people in the know, they've been like sort of dangling that as like a hostage situation. Like, hey, you better give us money or you don't get part 2.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of amazing that Villeneuve made this and ended it where he did without any guarantee that there would be a sequel.
I mean, but if you look at the history of Dune, it's like, is it really that surprising?
No, it's not surprising. It's kind of a bold choice, and it paid off because it's, you know, obviously it's a sequel's been announced and it's doing really well. But yeah, like as far as the lack of climax, yeah, I think if you went into this movie expecting it to be like a full story, which was very reasonable because they didn't really stress the whole part 1 aspect of it, then you might be disappointed. But like for me, I
wasn't necessarily expecting a complete story or story arc because I also knew that this was supposed to be like it wasn't going to be a completed thing, and you know I don't know how the novel works. Like, I don't even know how much of the novel they got through.
Apparently half.
Yeah, I've heard half or a third, or yeah, I've heard varying after the fact. But it just sort of like petered out at the end.
I mean, I disagree.
It wasn't even the fact that there wasn't like a climax or anything. It just sort of like kind of kept like meandering at the end. Like, instead of it didn't feel like it was going anywhere, and I was losing interest really quickly.
Like, yeah, I mean,
like
yeah,
where they're going through the dust storm. It's like, okay.
Oh, the dust storm went on for too long. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The dust storm went on for too long. That whole ship sequence where they're trying to like fly above it and through it, and
yeah, that was nothing. Like, I don't know if that's supposed to be some kind of important, whatever the hell, character. I don't know. But then they meet the Fremen, and they're just kind of hanging out, and then they got to do a trial by combat, and I didn't even understand the reasoning, really.
Yeah, well, I guess, for to be included within the Fremen, you have to prove yourself, right? I liked the ending of this movie because it wasn't like the end of a story arc, but it felt like the end of a character arc, or like the beginning of a new one, like for Paul, because this was like this is like what his visions were leading to, right, throughout the film. And this was like a moment where he's sort of taking on the role that he believes he should be in.
He's just trying to get his dick wet.
No, please stop. I'm trying to take this conversation seriously.
I'm sorry. But just like his face at the end.
Oh my God. No, but seriously though, because I thought it was interesting because like this story can get a little complicated regarding like the whole idea of the white savior, right?
Sure.
And I thought this was a smart choice by the film, and I don't know if it differs at all from what happens in the novel, but it's like the idea that he can walk up to the Fremen and be rejected and then have to immediately like prove himself and then be hesitant and then like end up having to kill a guy just to be like accepted in their community. Like this, it's almost like trying to resist at every turn against the idea of a white savior, right? Which I thought was smart and was really cool and kind of subversive. And I honestly don't know where that's going to lead like into the next movie. But it seems like they've set that up really well.
But at the same time, there was the thing where the lady that was like their guide, who was supposed to be like that impartial third party or whatever.
Right.
She says like at the beginning when she meets them, and she's like, she quotes, it sounded like straight from the Bible, but I don't know what it was from, if it was supposed to be some fictionalized text. She's like, one who is not of them will lead them. So it's like, I guess that's their prophecy thingy.
Mm-hmm.
But then at the same time, like, I know the novel was influenced by like Lawrence of Arabia.
Mm-hmm.
So there is like that whole outsider white dude thing coming in, being like, hey, I'm the dude.
Yes. Like it seems so central to this story, and it could be very easily be problematic. And so like feeling the narrative kind of like of the movie kind of like fight against it is a promising thing, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The other so Zendaya's whole thing was weird to me.
Mm-hmm. Another marketing issue, I think, because if you were watching like the ads or the lead up to this movie, you would think she was the co-star right alongside Chalamet. You would think she was front and center.
They pulled a Bryan Cranston Godzilla.
Okay.
Well, like he was all over the marketing, and then he like died within the first 5 minutes.
Oh, that's terrible.
So he was like not in that movie at all.
Yeah, they definitely. I mean, at least her character has significance, and you know that she's going to be important in the next film. But yeah, they definitely pulled that type of thing here.
Yeah, it was just weird because she does the narration at the very beginning of the movie, and then you don't see her except in Paul's visions until the very end. But my issue with her inclusion is that she's with the Fremen, who all seem to have like they are the indigenous population of what the hell's the Dune planet called? Whatever the Dune planet is called.
Arrakis, right?
Arrakis, Dune, yeah. I did the DiCaprio Leo pointing thing whenever that the bad guy calls it my Dune.
Of course.
I was like, oh, that's it. They said it.
They said it, yeah.
Anyway, so she's with this indigenous people, like that's her people or whatever, and they're all speaking like with an accent. But then she's there and she's just all like, "Hey, what up? How's it going?"
Yeah.
And it's like
I guess
really
we don't know
jarring.
if there's like a narrative reason for that, right?
Yeah, but without that, it's like it's really strange.
Mm-hmm.
Because all these other dudes are like speaking in riddles and shit, you know.
Yeah.
And they're like spitting on tables and and like doing like their customs and things, and she's just like, hey.
Well, the mediator, I don't know what her title was, but the one that was the person that was there, like the neutral person, she was Fremen, right? And so she didn't have
right, but she was like hiding it, even though it was like the worst secret ever.
Well, yeah, because your eyes are blue.
Right. But also she like knew everything and was like doing all this shit, and then it was like supposed to be a reveal whenever she says that she's Fremen, and I was like, dude, everybody knew that. Like,
was it supposed to be a secret though? Because one of the first lines she has, where somebody asks her if she's Fremen, and she's like, "I'm accepted in both in both communities."
Right, but then it was like the big music swelled whenever she said, "I'm Fremen," and it was like, do 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 do, and I was like, we knew that.
Yeah, we did.
But it was like, for her, it was more like she was trying to like suppress that side and like keep the imperial aloofness,
Yeah.
So for her, it made sense for like when Zendaya, like I guess we don't know what's going on, but it's just very jarring. Where all these other dudes are like speaking in riddles with accents.
I think it's safe to assume that Zendaya's character has some significance because she's tied to Paul's visions, right? So there's something there where it's like her origin is meaningful, and I'm assuming that maybe the accent has to do with that.
Maybe.
But I continue to be so impressed with Denis Villeneuve's films. This was a story that he's been trying to make this for a long time, and you could tell, like, just like I was saying before, like the amount of detail, the attention given to the world, it's such a passion project from the filmmaker, and it's really cool that he gets to make a sequel. At least I think so. Yeah. Potentially 3, because he said he wants ideally to be a three film, a trilogy.
Yeah. He wants 3 of them. I'm curious if that's going to cover the first book or if that's going to cover the sequel.
Did Frank Herbert? How many books did Frank Herbert write? Do you know?
He wrote 6.
He wrote 6, but there's like a bunch more, right?
His son and another author wrote 8 to finish the series, the original series, and then wrote like a fuck ton more after that to like fill in the gaps in the world and all kinds of shit.
Okay.
People seem to like the original 6, with some varying quality in between. Like some people really like book 3 like a whole lot, and then I think it kind of dips from there. And then a lot of people aren't really into the ones his son writes. But
is the first one considered the best generally?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Yeah, because wasn't there? I heard last year there were plans for like a TV series too, like a spinoff of some sort.
Oh yeah,
I don't know if that's still happening.
I think it is. I think it got a new showrunner. It's called like Women of Dune or Sisters of Dune or something like that. Okay. Because I think it's with the for like the nunnery, whatever the mom is involved with, that order. I think it's based on that, and I think it's an HBO Max project.
That would make sense. That would make sense.
Yeah, because I think Villeneuve was involved in some capacity, like maybe just as an EP or something. But it changed showrunner like maybe a year ago or something like that. So I don't know what its status is currently.
Interesting. As long as you don't like Star Wars it. Right. Yeah. But yeah, like if you want to make big blockbusters that, are like this, I'm down. I'm so happy that this is like succeeding. No, yeah, because I am too. Blade Runner 2049 did not. Right. Which is a fucking travesty, because that was excellent. Yeah. That kills me because it was all down to
people hearing about the runtime of that movie and being like, oh, that sounds long. No, thank you. Meanwhile, they'll sit through fucking Endgame.
I know, 3.5 hours.
Like, what the fuck? You couldn't make me sit through that at gunpoint. And this was like 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
I should mention, I watched this the way that Villeneuve intended, which was on my television. And with a number of pauses to go check hockey scores. So I apologize to
I watched
the
it
great Denny.
I somehow did not need to pause it. I watched it all the way through.
I pause every single movie I watch at home. I mean, I if it's 2 hours long, it takes me 3. That's just how it goes for me. But that's not like when it's on. It's not like I'm one of those people that, and no judgment or anything, that will just like sit on their phone while the movie's playing. Like nothing like that. If when it's on, it's full attention. But I do pause to like get up and do something or whatever.
For me, it's just a sign of like something going on with the movie. Where if I reach for my phone and the movie's on, something is going on. Like something is up with the movie if I feel the urge to grab my phone.
It has to earn your attention.
Yeah. So I usually make a mental note if it's like, oh, I just reached for my phone during this. And I try to like analyze why I did that during a movie.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, this has made me, like, even though I wasn't super hot on it, it has made me both want to read the book again and also want to watch the Lynch version again.
Yeah, I've felt the same way. I've been really, like, I've needed more Dune after I watched this.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was I actually watched the documentary, Jodorowsky's Dune.
Yeah.
Are you familiar at all?
I know of it. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's this documentary. I wanted to talk about it a little bit and share some of the highlights from that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please.
Because it's very interesting. So Alejandro Jodorowsky is a Chilean-French filmmaker, very avant-garde, very experimental. He was working in the 1970s. His two most famous movies are El Topo and The Holy Mountain, both very weird, very avant-garde. He's gotten like a cult following from those movies.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in a position around like 1975 to make a new movie, and he was kind of like trying to figure out what he wanted to do, and he decided he wanted to make Dune. This movie never was made,
right?
But a lot of effort went into it up until the point where they realized they couldn't make it. So the result of that was in 2013, there's a documentary called Jodorowsky's Dune, which goes into, everything that went into this project. Mm-hmm. I should say Jodorowsky is still alive today. I had to check. He's 92. Still,
he has to be quite up there. Yeah.
Yeah, he's still kicking. He's still rolling. But yeah, he's the main character in this documentary, and he is quite a character. Very fascinating individual. Because like much of this movie is him in a room being interviewed and going through like everything of those few years of trying to make Dune. Mm-hmm. And so he decides he wants to make it, right? He's never read the book.
Oh, okay.
But he decides he wants to make it. And of course he does read the book after he's like, I'm going to make this movie. And he's somebody who really, it's like, he's no compromise with his art. Like when he wants somebody to be in his movie, like he needs to have that person, Mm-hmm. So like he goes through like the various people that he was recruiting for this movie. And it's so interesting because like in the beginning, you're listening to this guy talk and he kind of resembles a cult leader in some ways. Like he refers to himself as a prophet.
Okay.
He thinks that he's not just making movies, he's making transcendent experiences that are like going to like elevate the consciousness of those who experience. Like, it's just like all this, like all this stuff. Like, he's very high on what he's doing. And I'll say, like, there's an arc to this documentary. Like, in the beginning, I was kind of put off by his approach. Mm-hmm. But by the end of it, like, he's painting a portrait of Hollywood, because eventually what happens with his version of Dune is that he prepares everything. He's got a full script, a full cast, art, everything, storyboard, ready to go. He's pitching it to all like the Hollywood execs, and he gets turned down from all of them because of his past work being so avant-garde and out there, and they don't want to take a chance on him, right? Mm-hmm. Because they're like, oh, this movie is this is all like really interesting and really cool, and it would only cost $15 million, and we could do it, and it makes sense, but we don't trust the director. Oh. And so he's become like, the antithesis to what Hollywood is, and it's like it resonates very much, like this, his story resonates even to like this day, where it's like Hollywood lacks, the ambition and the creativity and the willingness to give like creators a chance to like think outside the box, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that I found that was really interesting, and like I was initially put off by Jodorowsky, but by the end of the movie I was like won over by him. Mm-hmm. To the point where I'm going to go and watch some of his films. But yeah, anyway, so there were some details that I wanted to get into, and I won't go on forever here, but like some really fascinating like tidbits about him making Dune. So mm-hmm. like he wanted his son to play Paul. Okay. His son had acted in some of his prior movies. He was very young at the time. Mm-hmm. I think when he was casting him as Paul, I think his son was like a young teenager. And apparently his son trained for this role over the course of 2 years. He trained 6 hours per day, 7 days a week, doing like martial arts and like physical training and like some vague stuff to like expand his creativity and his mind, according to Jodorowsky.
Well, it's for the voice. I mean, he had to be able to use it.
He had to be able to use the voice. Yeah, he wanted his son to really become Paul in every sense of the word.
And he made him do this for 2 years before he even knew he was going to make the fucking movie?
Yes. 2 years of intense training. Which was very interesting. And he even says like, I realize now, what I've done to my son. Like
I've made him a killing machine.
Yeah. Like how his life might have been different had I not done this to him. And I don't know the effects of what I got him involved with. It was very interesting to see him reflect on that, but yeah, so his son's doing that. He's looking for like artists and effects guys to work with. He's writing the script. One interesting detail of the script that he changed from the book was how Paul came to be. So the Duke, who's Paul's father, he was castrated in Jodorowsky's version of this story. Okay. Castrated, I should say, before Paul is born.
Okay, and so then what? There's immaculate conception?
Sort of. What happens is the what's her name? Lady Jessica, Paul's mother. She takes a drop of the Duke's blood and consumes it. And there's supposed to be, like on the storyboards, there's this panning shot of the drop of blood like going down her body and into like her reproductive organs. And it explodes there. Okay. It explodes there and it impregnates her. And so the idea here is that Paul was not born by sexual pleasure, but rather spiritual pleasure. And so it's supposed to really play into the spirituality of Paul and his whole plight. Okay. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Yeah. So, so going into some of the casting, he wanted he wanted Salvador Dali to play the emperor.
Okay.
The problematic Salvador Dali. He was like fascinated with him. I guess as like another avant-garde artist.
Sure.
He didn't really know how to get in touch with Dali. Kind of hard guy to reach in the 70s. But it turns out they happened to be like staying at the same hotel one time. And so what Jodorowsky did to get his attention was he got a tarot card, the Hanged Man tarot, which I don't really know the significance of that. I don't know if you could speak at all.
It's kind of what you'd expect.
Okay. Yeah, so he got the Hanged Man tarot card. He wrote like a message on it to Dali and sent it to him, wanting to talk. And that caught Dali's attention, and they had a sit-down conversation. But he still couldn't convince him to like be in his movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Dali decided that if he was going to be in this movie, he wanted to be the highest paid actor in Hollywood.
Okay.
So he's like, yeah, I want at least $100,000 per hour during filming, which that, not going to really be feasible given the budget constraints. Yeah. So one of his producers had the idea of like, what if so how long do you think the Emperor will be on screen? He asked that to Jodorowsky, and Jodorowsky's like, maybe 3 to 5 minutes. And he's like, okay, so if he's going to be on screen for 3 to 5 minutes, why don't we go to Dali and tell him that we'll pay him not $100,000 per hour, but $100,000 per minute, but it's per minute of screen time.
Right.
And so he agreed to that.
Jesus.
So he's got Dali, but then he wants Orson Welles to play the Baron.
Okay.
Another problematic figure.
Okay.
But yeah,
hey,
so
I can see that.
Sure, yeah, it makes sense because he likes to eat, and that was pretty much the extent of Jodorowsky's reasoning, was that the Baron was Orson Welles likes to eat. So the way they tracked him down, because he's a hard guy to get in touch with.
Sure.
They learned that he likes gastronomic restaurants.
Okay.
And so they learned his favorite gastronomic restaurant, and they were able to catch him while he was eating there. And so he agreed to talk with Jodorowsky at this restaurant. And he's like, yeah, I don't really want to do that. I don't really want to act anymore. I'm not really looking to be part of anything. Like, it doesn't really matter, like, how much you're going to, even negotiating like a payment or anything. And so Jodorowsky's like, okay, well, what if in addition to your salary, I also hire the chef of this restaurant to be on set, and he will give you, he will cook every day while you're on set. And so that got Orson Welles on board.
Oh my God.
That got Orson Welles on board to play the Baron. And then he wanted Mick Jagger for some role. I forget the role. And then
Atreides.
Well, no, the was it the Duke? It might. I don't know. It might have been. Now this one's a little far fetched. I don't know if I believe him here, but he's like, didn't know how to get in touch with Mick Jagger either. But like, he just happens to run into him at like a club one day, and he's like, I guess so. But he's like, he had this moment where he's looking across the room and he makes eye contact with Mick Jagger. And like, there's like this connection, and Mick Jagger slowly makes his way across the room to Jodorowsky. And Jodorowsky says to him, I want you for my film. And Mick Jagger's like, okay.
Jesus Christ.
He agrees. And like, somehow they managed to get Pink Floyd to do part of the soundtrack.
Sure.
Because yeah, of course.
Why not?
Let's see what else here. Yeah. So all this stuff is in motion. He's got artists working around the clock. Oh, that's right. There was this artist, Dan O'Bannon, and he went on to work on like Alien and stuff.
Mm.
But this is before he had done any of that, and Jodorowsky saw some of O'Bannon's work and he wanted him to be part of the crew. And so he contacts him and he's like, yeah, I want you to be part of this movie. sell everything you own and move to Paris and come work with me on this.
My God.
So O'Bannon does that. And this is like where part of the cult leader thing kind of comes into play, where it's like these people are dropping everything and signing up for this project. And it's never going to get off the ground.
Right.
So like O'Bannon, for example, like gives up everything in his life and goes to Paris and works for a number of years, making all this art. And then the movie doesn't get funded and doesn't get made. And so now he's left with like nowhere to go. And it does work out for him in the long run because he works on some pretty big pictures. But it was like at the time, just like, man, where do you go from there? You know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, anyway, fast forward, the movie doesn't get made. It's a huge bummer. Jodorowsky doesn't make another movie for over 30 years. He does like make comics and stuff because he's got all this art, you know, he's got all this drawn art for this Dune adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
And he does use it in like other creative projects, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a really cool moment where it's like, it was a really funny moment in the documentary where they go into a little bit into David Lynch's Dune. Mm-hmm. And this is like almost 10 years after Jodorowsky failed to get his funded. Yeah. And they announced Lynch's version. And Jodorowsky's like, yeah, at the time, I'm a big fan of David Lynch. I love his work, but there was no way I was going to watch that movie.
Mm-hmm.
It would just be too painful, right?
Yeah.
But his sons drag him to the theater anyway. And they force him to sit there and watch it. And Jodorowsky's like, I was in the theater watching this. And while the movie was going on, I started crying because I was so happy this movie was terrible. I was so happy because this failed so dramatically and it was such a big failure. And he does say like it must have been the producers or something there because he knows that David Lynch is like such a extreme talent and it wasn't just him, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that moment where he's like, just like so relieved that this Dune adaptation that got greenlit was a failure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd be really curious if he's watched the Villeneuve version.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if anybody's like reached out to him or not. I mean, he is 92, so I don't know like what he's up to nowadays, but
the thing with the David Lynch version is that he didn't get final cut on the movie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, that's why he like took his name off of it at a certain point.
Yeah, see, I don't think I'll ever watch it because it would be one thing if like the public reacted poorly to it, but Lynch stood behind it.
Right.
But the fact that he's like disowned it makes me not even want to see it.
No, that's why I'm the same way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because whenever I first said like or heard that, you know, it was received so poorly, it's like, oh, a David Lynch movie that was received poorly. It's like, well, I fucking love Fire Walk with Me, you know?
Yes. What else is new?
Yeah. So, but then it's like, oh, well, if he doesn't like it and he didn't get final cut on the movie and it's not even like his version of the film, it's like, I don't know about that.
I know.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's holding me back on that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still very curious.
I kind of am too. But yeah, that was some of the interesting stuff from this documentary. I know I went on for kind of a while there, but I was fascinated by it.
No, it's very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's well worth a watch. There's plenty of other stuff, and just Jodorowsky as a character is so interesting to watch. There's some quotes that he says that I can't even repeat on here.
Jesus.
Like I simply can't.
Yeah.
Pretty wild stuff. And a lot of really interesting like conceptual art too that was shown off here from what this movie could have been. It was pretty interesting because like Nicholas Winding Refn was interviewed for this documentary. And
okay.
He was at Jodorowsky's home at one point, and like Jodorowsky pulled out the big book, the big, you know, book where you pitch the movie to like the execs. So it's got everything in it.
Yeah.
And he just like let Refn just like read it.
Oh, wow.
Which is really cool. But But yeah, like the movie like goes into like some of the artwork from this and the idea that this book was sort of like passed around Hollywood a little bit, because there's a lot of visuals that are very, very similar to like stuff in mainstream like science fiction from like the 80s and in the 90s.
Interesting.
They pitched the idea that this movie that was never made was actually quite influential, despite that. Which is a pretty cool idea. Because like Dune itself, obviously very influential.
Yeah.
But then the idea that this movie that wasn't made, just the concept of it and the ideas behind it, that those kind of got out there and inspired some like Spielberg or Ridley Scott, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's pretty interesting. I mean, this documentary, like it speculates, right? Like there's speculation. Sure. It's on the side of Jodorowsky as it you would expect.
Yeah.
So there's that. Like you can kind of take some things with a grain of salt, but it's, some of the side-by-side comparisons are pretty irrefutable. So yeah.
Interesting.
So that was my Dune filled week.
Yeah, it was Dune week. I mean,
yeah.
Because if I get into the Black Hawk shit, I'm gonna be like screaming for an hour. So
yeah, do you want to do that next week?
Yeah,
because it's worth. I think it's definitely worth talking about.
Yeah, because if we could bullshit hockey, we can talk about an important story.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll cover that next week. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. We really do appreciate it. As always, you can follow me everywhere at DeadEnRoad. Check out the Facebook page at facebook.com/DeadEnRoadTV. Follow the twitch.tv/DeadEnRoadTV. Do a YouTube search for DeadEnRoad TV. And if you'd like to email anything at all, maybe some conspiracy theories that you find around the web, or celebrities delving into QAnon, you can send that in to video@DeadEndRoad.co.
Or if you watch Dune, and you want to let us know what you thought of it.
That too, yeah. I'd be very curious.
If you want to tell Bill why he's wrong about not liking it as much as he should have. I'm
open to, I'm probably in the minority. I know it's gotten slightly mixed, but yeah. And I'm going to keep on plugging it, even though it doesn't fit the content of this show. Check out the Fred's First Adventure book and plush bundles over at publishing at, that's the email, publishing.deadendroad.co. It's very hot in my room. I need to get out of here. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next week.